where's Manny? Where's Manny? Manny and his crew, take credit of that. So I'm the show opener here, so I have to keep it going and keep it warm for you guys. So the purpose of today's meeting is really to begin the process of what we should expect when the team comes next month. I just want to share with you that this is my third one here at BMCC, and I believe I chaired close to 15 of these myself as the team chair, primarily in Puerto Rico and on the East Coast of the U.S. for middle states. And what you should expect are people who are coming in here who have our best interests in mind. They want to come in, they want to review what we've documented in writing, and then they want to be able to ascertain whether or not, in essence, what we say we do, we're doing. But again, it's important to realize that these are colleagues coming in to help us become a better institution. And our expectation is that everyone will be open and honest with them. We want to know from them what they see, and we want to share with them what we're doing. This is not an opportunity for people to just vent. This is not that kind of a visit. In the past, there have been individuals who have tried to take team members aside and say how awful these things are at the college. You can do that as part of a committee, but it's not really for your individual agenda. It's really for the institution to be able to be seen as we are, and for individuals to come in, our colleagues, and evaluate that and be helpful to us. So, but we want you to be totally honest and open with them. You know, this is a process that's taken a number of years for us to have written this report. Lauren Goodwin and Chris Schultz have been taking the leadership with Karen Wilkes on this. And it's an excellent document, according to Everett Flannery. Right, Everett, you read it? Yes, I did. You read it over the weekend. I did. And Everett gave it his 5 stars of approval on this one. But it's really, it's a process that we welcome. It's not something to be afraid of. It's something that will help us make BMCC the institution that we believe we are, but hopefully make it even better. So I hope that everyone will be partaking in the process and be as open and honest as you can, and listen to what's being said in order to enhance what we do here at the college. I'll turn it over to Chris now.
Rather be a stranger than another in the flames, decomposing beauty you lay upon my bed.
This particular class is called the Advanced Theater Workshop, and because we have so many talented singers, songwriters in the program, for the second time I've created an opportunity for students to write music. And so we're writing a new musical. This semester we have chosen a story that takes place in Tribeca in the 1800s. It's based on a true story.
It's about the mysterious case of Mary Rogers. And Mary Rogers was a young lady from this area. Well, actually, she's from Connecticut. She moved here, but she lived in Tribeca, and she was known as the most beautiful cigar girl. And they had her in billboards in the newspapers and in the magazines, and she was murdered, or they don't know if she was murdered. That's my opinion.
What would you do for love? Would you? What would you do for love? Would you? Could you? What would you do for love? Would you? Could you? What would you do for love? What do I do now?
Students can study part-time. Students can also study stage management, theater management. They can take acting classes, acting for the camera, and then students can also study scene work. But most importantly, we want to give students a real experience performing on stage.
Maybe it was Anderson, he was an assessor, man. I mean, damn, oh damn, newspaper, man, but it was hard for him to make money, man. Mary was...
Beforehand, I wouldn't research, I would just tell from what my perspective is, and with this class, now I have to really go out and research.
I am very introverted in
in the real world, and it is difficult, and until maybe a month ago, I wouldn't call myself an actor. I can't believe that you're calling me an actor.
Make sense of the hills of the dead, and I'd rather be a stranger than another in the flames.
I see myself in 4 to 5 years going back to my country, the Dominican Republic, and starting a theater art movement and bringing art to my country.
In the struggle abroad, I have forever admired her beauty and her grace. Thousands of men you inspired.
Dreaming of being on Hamilton, it was like the most far-fetched dream ever. And then they did an open casting call, and one of my professors, Catherine Cavanaugh, actually sent me the email and said, "You better be there." And just dreaming kept me on that line.
Thousands of men you inspired while robbing the idiots of sales. Seeing the future in the pupils of the dead.
I want to perform. I want to be a performer that people can look up to. So you have to start. You can't stop. That's the thing. Start dreaming and never stop.
The choices that you make on your own seem right. What would you do for love? Would you? What would you do for love? Would you?
Wow, right? That is a hard act to follow, I'm afraid. So good afternoon, and thank you all for being here. It's taken a lot of time and a lot of people to get us to this place where we are today. So I wanted to just share very briefly the journey of how we did get here today. So it started way back in August of 2015 when the president named myself and Dr. Lauren Goodwin co-chairs of the self-study process. We then went to what they call the Institute, the Self-Study Institute, and that was important because we are the first cohort who is working with the new standards. There used to be 14 standards, and now there are 7. So going to that institute was important to find out what was going on. Then the president appointed a steering committee, which had 2 co-chairs, a faculty co-chair and an administrator for each of the standards, and Lauren and myself. And then I think this is important because it signaled the way this process was going to go, is that we issued an open call for volunteers from the college community to serve on the standards working groups. And we got literally hundreds of volunteers sending in their willingness to join us. In January 2016, then the president appointed the working groups with over 120 faculty and staff, many of whom are in this room today. And so again, we want to say thank you to all of you. It was important that we had such a massive representation from the college on these working groups. In February of 2016, we had our self-study launch meeting. You may remember that. And we started a series of college-wide communications. And again, this was important as well for us to be as transparent as possible about the process. And you know that we have a little square on the front page of our website that showed all along the way the process of how we were collecting documents. In April of 2016, we had a visit from our liaison, Ellie Fogarty, and a college forum. So you'll see as we go through this that we've had 5 times for the college to come together to learn about Middle States. In May of 2016, we completed what was called the design document, and that was a new part of the process with the 7 standards versus 14. And I think it was a really important addition because what the design document was really a roadmap for us in terms of the process we'd follow for the self-study. In October 2016, the president had his first town hall. We're in the 3rd one right now. The working groups completed the first drafts of the self-study about a year ago in January 2017. And then worked getting feedback from, remember we put those drafts on the website, which is pretty unusual to put drafts of a self-study on a website. Got a lot of feedback, completed 2nd drafts in April 2017, and then the president again convened a town hall in May of 2017. June of 2017, we put the self-study on the web again for additional feedback, and then in October of 2017, posted the final self-study based on feedback we had received over the previous month. In November 2017, we had a visit from Dr. Generals, who's our team chair. He's the president of the Community College of Philadelphia. That brings us to today, where we are in our 3rd town hall, and then looking forward to the March 11 through 14 visit. So it's been about 2.5 years, as the president had indicated. Hundreds of people helped out, and again, we really thank you for being here today and for all your service. I'll turn it over to Lauren.
So Karen had asked for people to come and maybe talk about being part of the Middle States process fairly early on. And when she asked me what I thought about being a co-chair of Middle States, I said I was so interested in the process because I had been a co-chair on the previous one. And my co-chair turned into a chair because my co-chair ended up on sabbatical. So this was my second year at BMCC, and all of a sudden I'm trying to figure out what to do with this kind of committee work. And I really found that the process was so enlightening in terms of just getting me to understand this college that I worked in. I think it's very easy to come in those doors and go to your office or your department, and that's who you see all the time, and you don't reach out to people in other areas. I mean, we have forums for that, like Faculty Senate, but that obviously doesn't reach all of us. And Middle States is one of those ways that you can be in a committee with people from all over the college. From faculty side, you meet administrators. From administrators, you meet faculty. And seeing that difference in perspective is just, it's kind of changing the way you view the college as a whole. So I was very pleased to be involved in this process yet once again. And so what I would like to say is I would encourage everyone who is sitting here, if you haven't already looked at the strategic plan, to look at that strategic plan, because that is a large bit of what informed kind of the narrative we tried to use as we put together this Middle States report. And as I was reading through this, reading the comments from the committees and the document, I kept saying, I didn't know that. I didn't know that, because there's just no way that you can know necessarily everything that's going on in the college. So reading through this document, you will find that there are lots of programs and lots of just things that are available to you that you wouldn't have known about before. And what's really wonderful about it is in getting ready for this, Chris has made a huge push along, I believe, with Manny to get everything put up and online. So as you go through the document online, there are hyperlinks everywhere. And so it's super easy to find out, oh, what is going on over in CUNY Central? What is going on over in the ASAP program? What's happening over in the new math remedial programs? And otherwise, also, there are links to all the appendices that didn't have necessarily a place to live that's their own URL. So I have been incredibly pleased to be part of this process, and I would really encourage everyone here to read it. You know, not just, we didn't just put it out there, but by reading it, you'll have a chance to hopefully have your own, I didn't know we do that moment.
Thank you, Lauren. So just real quickly, I wanted to give kind of a skeleton of what the 4 days that they're actually going to be here looks like. We got changes from the team this morning, so we are still finalizing the schedule. We have a good idea generally of the individuals who they're going to want to speak to. We know that they're going to want to speak to department chairs, so we'll have a meeting for that. Students, there will be an open meeting for students. Not an open meeting, sorry, scheduled meeting for students. They're going to want to speak to individuals from each of the standards committees. They're going to want to speak to the steering committee, to cabinet. Outside of that, there are individuals who they've asked for. So if you're overseeing a program like ASAP or BLA or one of our student affairs programs, the LRC Writing Center, those sorts of areas, you can expect to probably get a notice from us in the next week or so. And what we're going to want to do is to have prep sessions over the next couple of weeks. Now, these aren't really big deals. They're not going to take that much time. But just to let you know the kind of questions that you could expect from the team, what they're going to expect in these meetings, and really, frankly, to be completely honest, to make sure you're calm, because it's really not a huge deal. These really are our colleagues. My experiences in the past have been that oftentimes when you're doing things really well, the team wants to find out more about it because they want to steal the ideas and take it back to their own colleges. That is honestly a big part of higher ed. We learn from each other. So they're going to arrive on March 11th. There will be a dinner that night, and individuals who are a part of that will get their notice. The meet is on the 12th and the 13th, day 1 and day 2. We have a mixture of individual and group meetings. The schedule is being finalized now. It's something that we'll be able to share within the next couple of days. But just know that on day 1, we're going to have an hour session where the team gets to meet with students. And on day 2, in that same slot, that's going to be where the team gets to meet with our academic department chairs. And then we've got our departure day, which is on the 14th. So please, if you can, make sure you're here, same place, 10 a.m. That's when they're going to have the exit interview. And what they're going to do is they're going to talk about what they found while they were here. And we'll get a pretty good idea of the information that they will be sharing back with Middle States, who makes the final decision on our reaffirmation. We'll get an idea of what they really liked and what they didn't like. We'll also get an idea of whether or not there's going to be some sort of a follow-up report. The big thing to remember is They received this self-study document about almost 3 months ago at this point. And so they've been reviewing it. They've been sending me emails asking for additional information. So really the big part of the visit is they want to see that what we said in that self-study reflects reality here. That's the biggest point. That's what they're here. That's what they're going to want to find out about. So that's the big thing. And when you do get a chance to read the document, and I again want to echo thanking all of the teams for all of the work that they put in. We did not write this document as a checklist to the standards. We used the standards to frame our story as a college. And when you read it, you'll see that we tried to make sure that we looked at how we, as a college, as a community, look to improve student success every day, whether it's in the classroom, in support areas, with backroom operations, whatever it may be. So even the ethics and integrity standard is around that idea of how do we set the environment for student success. So student success is at the core of what we do. It's at the core of what we wrote about, and it will be at the core of what we talk about when they're here. And in the end, it always comes back to our mission statement. This was rewritten by the college, for the college. This reflects what we do, what we're here for. This is what we're about at this institution. They are going to come here and want to see that we are indeed following that mission statement in everything that we say and everything we do. So that actually ends the sort of presentation portion. We wanted to keep this nice and short. But I would like to open up for questions about the visit or anything that you may have in regards to Middle States. If there are any questions, we could take them now and be happy to provide you with answers. Me or the president or Lauren or Karen as well. Yes?
Can you expand a little bit more on the visiting committee and who they are and where they're coming from?
I can. We're actually going to be sharing their information, but there's 7 members, so it's actually a very small team. The chair is Dr. Donald Generals. He is the president, as was said, from the Community College of Philadelphia. We have a chief information officer from Prince George's Community College. We have our CFO, I'm trying to think, is from Pennsylvania. We have a planning and 2 different assessment people, as well as a student affairs individual as well. Those are where they come from. They represent Maryland, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, a few from New York. An interesting thing to note is 3 of the 7 people have assessment or planning in their title. So I think that pretty much let us know where they were going to be asking. And frankly, about 3/4 of the appendices that we have in the self-study are related to our assessment efforts, our evaluative efforts, program reviews, and showing that we are indeed trying to learn from the data that we gather. So we would have done that anyway, but the fact that that's the team they put together, I think the presentation that we put together definitely is going to go along with their expectations. But again, we'll send their exact names and everything out within the next week. Did I see another hand? Oh.
I have 2 concerns as it relates to the Middle States. And I'm looking up at the mission statement where it says pluralistic learning community. And as I looked at the self-study, I didn't feel there were certain things that were not really included. And here's some of the things I'm talking about. Racial disparities in the hiring, faculty, reappointment, promotion, and tenure. Okay? In almost every academic department at BMCC, the racial makeup of full-time faculty is overwhelmingly white. African Americans and Hispanic adjuncts in these departments generally do not move to full-time positions when they become available. And we're talking about pluralistic learning community. So that concerns me. I didn't hear anything, any plan to address that reality. You say you want to reflect reality. That's a reality. That's a very serious reality for this college and other campuses within CUNY. What are we doing to address the fact that we're becoming increasingly overwhelmingly white and decreasingly people of African American and Latino heritage?
Okay, I can respond to that, but do you want to?
I would just say two things. One is that we established this year an equity and inclusion task force that has about 25 to 30 people on a huge majority faculty who are going to be making recommendations about BMCC, performance gaps among students, satisfaction gaps among faculty, and hiring issues to the president in March. We also were required by CUNY to develop a diversity recruitment plan, which we've done and submitted to them. So those are two very specific things.
And those are actually mentioned by name in the document. And one of the teams that we are going to have the Middle States team meeting with is members of the Equity and Inclusion Task Force. I would also say that in the standard where we do talk about there being disparities within faculty, we try to show trends over time and talk about some of the initiatives that are in place to improve that. That actually is mentioned.
Okay, I'm going to move on. I heard that story before, but I'm going to move on to the next issue. Islamic phobia. There are issues involving our Muslim students in this college. And I just felt, talking about a pluralistic learning community, Muslim students have expressed fear and intimidation being in this community and also being in this college. I've received emails from students who talk about being verbally attacked, on the college in terms of where they come from and where they need to go back. Now, I have, for the last year, been trying to get the academic senate to discuss Islamic phobia in the classroom. This is something that is being done in colleges and universities throughout this country. And the academic senate has refused to allow any discussion on Islamic phobia in the academic senate. This is outrageous. And I just want to know, if we're talking about a pluralistic society and cultural sensitivity and tolerance, how could an academic senate of faculty members refuse to even have a discussion when faculty throughout this country are working with students, Muslim students, to develop innovative and effective programs to build understanding of the religion of Islam and its impact on students?
Personally, I mean, these are fair questions and fair comments, and this is something that does need to be taken up at the level of the Senate, and governance is a section inside of the document, and we do speak about the different governance processes that we have, but I would also go back to something that the President had said. What we are trying to do is tell our story as it reflects to the standards as they exist. That doesn't mean that everything here is perfect. We're not trying to state that everything is perfect, but this is also not, the visit is not the time where we want to discuss all of the issues that we have institutionally. What we want to talk more about is the methods that we have for trying to address them and looking at how we move forward. That's more the approach that we want to take. So I personally, I hear your comments, and I know that we have people from the Senate here as well, and that is a concern for the Senate to continue to take up, but that's not something that I would say is something that fits easily under the visit and the sort of meetings that we'll be having with the team. Okay, that's fair. I am familiar with it. Do we have any other questions?
Not so much a question, but I just wanted to say that if there are any students that have concerns about Islamophobia, please direct them to the Office of Compliance and Diversity. We'd love to speak with them.
Thank you. Do we have any other? I thought I saw another hand. I'm sorry, I'm really having a hard time with this light. Over there?
Hi, how are you guys?
Doing well. How are you doing?
I'm well. So I'm Keenan. I'm part of Student Government Activities. Student Government Association, and we wanted to know on our end, how can we as students, student leaders, prepare other students who may be interviewed or who may have questions for Middle States or suggestions of things of that nature. So how can we do that? Can we open up a application saying, hey, we have this group coming in, and if you would like to speak to them and say your concerns, this would be nice and stuff like that. And so how can we as a student government help facilitate students with my word left? Yeah.
We sent an email to the president of the SGA And we will be meeting with the SGA. Chris and I will decide on a date. Chris and I will decide on a date that we will meet with the SGA. We already reached out to your president, so we will be meeting with you for you to have input and for you to be prepared as well, because we're hoping that you'll be joining some of the student meetings. So you'll be involved.
Thank you, VP Craig. And I'm glad she did bring that up because we are looking for students to participate, especially where we have standards that address the student experience and design and delivery of the student experience, as well as the open session. We're also going to be working with student ambassadors as part of the process.
I want to thank you for this opportunity to speak for our minds. And
You're welcome.
I'm Brenda McGarrison. I'm a nursing student here at BMCC, and I personally believe that you guys have empowered us to pursue our dreams and our goals, and by providing different methods and opportunities for us, we've been able to achieve some of those goals along the way. I'm interested in actually becoming part of the interview process, possibly as a student. Who do I contact? And no one in the nursing department has heard about this opportunity for students to actually voice their opinions, or just go through the process.
Well, specific to that, I'd ask that you meet with VP Craig right after here to express your interest. Up there?
Yeah, I just wanted to say something about books. I'm an English professor. I love the video about the BMCC, but I think that student who's reading a book she disappears really quickly. I would make that longer. And maybe the people sitting in the cafes are reading books. I mean,
are you listening, Manny?
No, I'm serious, because I think the student experience, it really should partly be about books they've read and talked about as well. And I love the video of Catherine Kavanaugh's program. That was amazing. I've seen it on the website. Our website has, it's got great stuff on it. And also, I really want to praise Barry and his team for the video about the undocumented student. I was so pleased, because it's been something I've been concerned about, that it's hard to find information on the website.
Sure.
And I think that certainly should be, maybe it's in the mission statement, but I think it's one of our concerns, is how we're dealing with the students who are threatened with being kicked out of the country.
Yeah. No, very fair concerns. Thank you. Do I see any other hands? I don't see any, do you? Okay. Thank you all for attending, and thank you for your participation. We look forward to having the team here on the 11th. Hopefully you're back on the 14th when they get ready to leave and they tell us what they think. Thank you very much.